the pride of the Dunas under the searing sun of the Sahara, where golden dunes stretched endlessly. A pride of lions known as the dune walkers had ruled for generations. Unlike their cousins in the savannas, these lions had adapted to the harsh desert, their coats lighter and their endurance unmatched. They were more than survivors. They were legends. But their dominion had come under threat. Poachers, armed with rifles and greed, had ventured deep into the desert, drawn by tales of the rare lions and the wealth their pelts could fetch. The dune walkers had lost many of their kin-strong hunters and cubs alike. Their leader, a massive lion named Asaru, bore scars from the steel traps and bullets that had stolen his brothers and sisters. One moonless night, as the pride huddled in the shadow of a great dune, Asaru gazed at the stars, his golden eyes fierce with determination. The pride's survival was no longer just about hunting and enduring the desert. It was a fight for freedom. "We can't keep running," growled Kira, Asaru's mate, her voice a low rumble. "They'll follow us to the ends of the dunes." Asaru nodded. "Then we don't run. We fight." The pride listened in silence as Asaru shared his plan. They would use the desert itself as their ally, its shifting sands, scorching heat, and deceptive mirages. The poachers might have guns, but they didn't have the land. At dawn, the plan was set in motion. A scout lion named Naru, swift and cunning, lured the poachers deeper into the dunes. He moved like a shadow, staying just out of rifle range, his tail flicking in deliberate taunts. The poachers, 6 men in battered trucks, followed eagerly, their tires sinking slightly into the loose sand. They laughed, confident in their firepower, oblivious to the traps being laid. Asaru and the pride worked in coordinated silence. Using their claws and strength, they dug shallow pits, disguising them with thin layers of sand. In other areas, they dragged thorny desert brush into choke points, creating barriers. By the time the sun was high, the poachers had been led into a labyrinth of dunes. Heat shimmered around them, and the sand seemed to stretch endlessly. They were disoriented, their trucks overheating, their canteens running dry. Then the pride struck. Kira and 2 other lionesses leapt from the dunes, snarling and kicking up clouds of sand. The poachers fired wildly, but the women had already vanished back into the dunes, leaving the men coughing and blinded. Moments later, Asaru charged from another angle, his roar a thunderclap that made the ground seem to tremble. He swiped at one of the trucks, shattering its side mirror before disappearing into the sandstorm the pride had kicked up. The poachers, panicked, abandoned their trucks and stumbled into the traps. One fell into a pit, his rifle lost in the sand. Another was caught in the thorny barrier, his shouts drowned by the wind. By nightfall, the poachers were defeated not by teeth and claws alone, but by the desert itself. Exhausted and demoralized, they fled on foot, leaving behind their vehicles and weapons. Under the stars that night, the pride gathered on a high dune, their roars echoing across the vast desert. It wasn't just a victory, it was a warning. The dune walkers would not be prey. Asaru stood at the dune's peak, Kira by his side. "This is our land," he rumbled, his voice carrying across the sands, "and we will protect it." For the first time in months, the desert was silent, free of the sound of engines and gunfire. The lions rested, knowing the fight was far from over, but for now, the Sahara belonged to them once more.